Yo, what's good everyone? Today I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite cash game plays for this Week 17 NFL Draftkings main slate, and like I always do here in these videos, I'm going to go position by position highlighting my favorite plays, and then we'll wrap up the video with some honorable mentions. With that being said, let's dive right into this. And we're going to kick things off here at the quarterback position. Now, there's definitely been some value to open up here at this position as the week has progressed. We got some guys here in the 4K range, some backup quarterbacks who will be starting this week. I'm going to highlight my favorite 4K quarterback play here in the honorable mention section at the end of this video. But as far as starters go here in my favorite two plays, man, I'd love to get up to Jalen Hurts or Brock Purdy if at all possible. Hurts here at $8,300 in a smash matchup at home against the Arizona Cardinals, where we would need 24.9 DraftKings points for him to hit 3x value. I mean, this Cardinals defense is one of, if not the worst defense in the NFL, ranking 31st overall in defensive pass DVOA, as well as ranking 31st overall in defensive rush DVOA, having allowed close to 20 DraftKings points per game to the quarterback position, ranking 21st out of 32 teams. It's not a matter of if, it's where he's going to beat this Cardinals defense, whether it's through the air and his pass catchers or through the running game. Hurts' volume is not going to be an issue. He averages 33 pass attempts per game, close to 10 rush attempts per game, and close to 25 DraftKings points per game, which is exactly what we need for him to hit 3x value in this matchup. Now, I did mention earlier this week in my first look video that I thought Kyler Murray would also be cash game viable on the other side of that game between the Eagles and Cardinals, priced at $6,300 this week, where we would need 18.9 DraftKings points for him to hit 3x value. As I sit here on Friday and record this, I think he's 100% okay to be in a cash lineup. If you're looking to save a little more money at this position, he offers that safe floor that you're looking for in your cash lineup, especially with his rushing upside. But as the week has progressed here since I made that first look video, I found myself getting that extra money to get up to Brock Purdy here at $7,000. He's got such a good matchup here on the road against the Washington Commanders, where we would need 21 DraftKings points for him to hit 3x value, and we're all aware he played awful last week in Week 16 against the Baltimore Ravens, but if we look at the season overall, amongst all quarterbacks, he still ranks first overall in yards per attempt, first in passer rating, second in fantasy points per dropback, and again, this just couldn't be a better bounce back spot for him against this Commanders defense, who rank 32nd overall in defensive pass DVOA, while having allowed 23.3 DraftKings points per game to the quarterback position, the second most in the NFL. Now, moving on to the running backs here, and I'm going to highlight my favorite two running backs this week, but I do have three honorable mentions that I'll talk about at the end of this video, who are absolutely in play this week, and honestly, it's probably one of those cash game weeks where I play three running backs in my lineup. With that being said, the first guy that I want to get in my lineup here is Christian McCaffrey, priced at $9,600, super expensive, but we know the upside that he offers, especially in a matchup like this against the Commanders defense, who again is just abysmal. Now, we need 28.8 DraftKings points for him to hit 3x value at this price this week, but again, another guy who's just been dominant all year long. Among all running backs in the NFL, he currently ranks first overall in red zone touches, first overall in fantasy points per game, and second in carries. Needless to say, volume is never going to be an issue when it comes to Christian McCaffrey, and he should be able to eat with that volume against this Commanders defense, who have allowed close to 25 DraftKings points per game to the running back position, plus the 49ers are implied to score 31.25 points in this game, and that's the most on this main slate. Now, with this next play here, I went with more of a value play. Don't get me wrong, Kyren Williams, Rachaad White, even Ezekiel Elliott this week all look nice in cash lineups, maybe hinting at those honorable mentions here a bit early, but in terms of value here this week, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is sticking out to me for the Kansas City Chiefs, priced at $5,300 in a matchup at home against the Bengals, where we would need 15.9 DraftKings points for him to hit 3x value. Now, we do need to keep an eye on the running back situation here for the Kansas City Chiefs. When I first started making these graphics, I was under the impression that Isaiah Pacheco was not going to play here this week due to him being in the concussion protocol, but right before I started recording, I got word that Pacheco showed up to practice today, so there is a chance that he plays on Sunday. So we need to keep an eye on that, but assuming that he doesn't play, that means both him and McKinnon would be missing. That should lead to Clyde Edwards-Helaire seeing 15 plus opportunities in this game against a Bengals team that has struggled against running backs all year long, ranking 28th overall in defensive rush DVOA. Now, when it comes to wide receivers this week, I want to spend up for at least one of the three guys that I'm going to highlight next, but as I mentioned earlier, I foresee myself spending up for the running back position as well, and probably put in 3 running backs throughout my lineup, so that means I'm going to need to find some value at the wide receiver position. So just like I did in my cash video last week, I'm going to highlight my top 2 or 3 wide receivers here, and then I'm going to highlight the value wide receivers at the end of this video. So with that being said, the first guy I want to highlight here is Rashee Rice of the Kansas City Chiefs, priced at $6,900 again at home here against the Bengals, where we would need 20.7 DraftKings points for him to hit 3x value. He again is clearly taken over as the wide receiver number 1 and maybe even the pass catcher 1 in this Chiefs offense. Since week 12, he's seen a 26% target share, 31% first read share, and ranks 2nd overall amongst all wide receivers in red zone targets and yards after the catch. And since week 11, this Bengals defense has not been good against perimeter wide receivers, having allowed the 5th most PPR points and 7th most receiving yards to that position. But I think my favorite play here in the 6K range is going to be Chris Olave of the New Orleans Saints, priced at $6,800 here in a good matchup on the road against the Buccaneers, where we would need 20.4 DraftKings points for him to hit 3x value. Volume has not been an issue for Olave this year. He's seen a 25% target share, 41% air yard share, and a 32% first read share. Plus, this Buccaneers defense has been decimated by perimeter wide receivers, having allowed 44.2 DraftKings points per game to the wide receiver position, the 3rd most in the NFL. And then I also like Zay Flowers here this week of the Baltimore Ravens, priced at $5,600 in a matchup on the road against the Miami Dolphins, where we would need 16.8 DraftKings points for him to hit 3x value. It's a guy who's seen a 25% target share and a 23% air yard share this year, and he's also got the 3rd highest projected plus minus of all wide receivers in week 17. Plus, there's definitely some shootout potential in this game between the Ravens and Miami. Currently has the 3rd highest implied total on this main slate. Now, when it comes to the tight ends here this week, don't get me wrong, I'd love to spend up for Trey McBride and just move on to the next position, but it's unlikely that I'm going to be able to do that. I already mentioned it a couple of times now. Want to spend up for running backs, probably want to get one of those 6K wide receivers in my lineup, so that means I need to spend down here at the tight end position. First guy I want to highlight is Chigo Konku of the Tennessee Titans, priced at $3,600 in a good matchup on the road against the Texans, where we would need 10.8 DraftKings points for him to hit 3x value. Now, it sounds like Will Levis is going to be back here starting on Sunday, and with Will Levis, Okonkwo's seen a 16% target share and an 18% first read share. Not bad numbers at all considering he's priced here in the mid 3K range, and again, this is a good matchup for him against this Texans defense, who have not been good against tight ends this year, having allowed 15.4 DraftKings points per game to the position. That's the 4th most in the NFL, while having allowed the 3rd most receiving yards too. And then for just $100 cheaper, I think that Gerald Everett of the Los Angeles Chargers is also in play. Matchup here on the road against the Denver Broncos, where we would need 10.5 DraftKings points for him to hit 3x value. Now, with no Keenan Allen here over the last few weeks, Everett's seen a 22% target share and a 24% first read share. It sounds like both Keenan Allen and Joshua Palmer are questionable heading into Sunday, something to keep an eye on, but if one or both of those guys miss, I like Everett even more, because this Denver defense has been shredded by tight ends all year long, having allowed 16.9 DraftKings points per game to the position. That's the 2nd most in the NFL, while also having allowed the 2nd most receiving yards too. And then when it comes to the defenses here this week, oddly enough, it's going to be the 2 defenses going up against the tight ends that I just highlighted. Obviously, we don't want negative correlation in our lineup, rostering players going up against the defense that we're rostering, but considering the tight ends that I did roster are just in the 3K range, I'm not too concerned about that. I do like the matchup here for both of these defenses. You got the Texans at home here going up against a rookie quarterback in Will Levis, but I even like the Broncos even more here at $2,900, playing an unproven quarterback in Easton Stick. I just mentioned earlier, Keenan Allen is questionable heading into this game. Joshua Palmer is also questionable. Odds are both of those guys are not going to play. This Broncos defense should have a field day against the Chargers, especially considering Stick is starting at quarterback. Now, folks, before we dive into those honorable mentions, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. I also want to mention to you guys as well that this is going to be the last cash game video here of the NFL regular season. I don't play cash games in the last week of the regular season or now week 18 because there's just so much uncertainty certainty heading into that last week that it's purely a tournament or GPP week for me, but don't forget I will be posting content for the NFL playoffs as well, so make sure you stay tuned for that. With that being said, let's dive into these honorable mentions here. And again, just like I did last week, I'm going to break these into two different parts. The first part here highlighting the quarterbacks, running backs, and tight ends. And then we have a separate section highlighting those other value wide receivers. So let's start it off here with another quarterback I talked about earlier. There's a handful of backups starting this week, many priced in the 4K range. I put my thumb here on Tyrod Taylor of the New York Giants. Don't mind the matchup here at home against the Rams, but just even more so priced at $4,600. We really don't need that much for him to hit 3x value, just 14 Draftkings points. Now moving on to the running backs here, I mentioned these guys are 100% going to be in consideration for me this week. Probably want to go the 3 running back route. Probably going to lock in Christian McCaffrey, and then one of these other guys here, whether it's Kyron Williams, Rashad White, or Ezekiel Elliott. Probably want to get one of those 3 guys in my lineup as well. And then again, assuming that Isaiah Pacheco is out this week for the Chiefs, I'll put in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And then 2 other tight ends there. Trey McBride, he's basically the wide receiver number 1 in this Cardinals offense. Good matchup against the Eagles here this week. I just don't foresee myself spending up at the tight end position. But I do think that Dalton Schultz is offering some nice value here against the Titans at $4,300, especially with CJ Stroud coming back this week. And then we got those value wide receivers here all in the 3 to 4K range. I got 4 listed there, and you can see some notes off to the right-hand side. First being Jackson Smith and Jigba, the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are clearly trying to get the ball in their rookie wide receivers' hands. Since Week 12, only Rashee Rice of the Kansas City Chiefs has had more designated targets at the wide receiver position. Next guy got there is Rashid Shaheed of the New Orleans Saints. Talked about it with Chris Olave earlier. This is a great matchup against the Buccaneers secondary. And without Michael Thomas so far, once he got put on the IR, Shaheed's numbers have gone up here. 20% target share, 27% air yard share, and a 23% first read share. Not bad at all for a guy priced here in the mid 4K range. I then got Pop Douglas there, the New England Patriots. Tougher matchup on the road against the Bills, but this Bills defense do run 2 high safety 60% of the time, and versus 2 high safety looks, Douglas's numbers look nice. He's seen a 19% target share, 25% air yard share, and a 26% first read share. And then if we're really looking to save some money here at the wide receiver position, I like Darius Slayton of the New York Giants, priced at $3,400 this week in a matchup against the Rams, and this Rams defense run a single high safety 57% of the time, versus single high this year, Slay's seen a 15% target share and a 22% first read share. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great weekend here, folks. Let's win some money on this Week 17 main slate. And in the meantime, I'm out of here.